Hello and welcome to another episode of Movies That Make Us. I'm Jake.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm Val.
And how are you guys doing this illustrious weekend? Illustrious, that's not the right word. This fine weekend.
Well, it might be illustrious.
Yeah, I guess.
It could be.
Yeah.
No, doing good, man.
Yeah.
Good.
Trying to get out of the heat, keep out of the heat.
Oh my gosh.
So hot, ridiculously hot.
It is so hot. And we've turned our temperature up a little bit in the house just to keep the AC from having to work so hard.
Yeah.
And man, just bumping it a few degrees just feels miserable.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I have discovered the perfect comfort TV food for when you're just laying on the couch in the living room, just trying to keep cool. You don't need to really think a whole lot. So you know the Fox show Lego Masters?
Mm-hmm.
There's an Australian version, and it's
really
awesome. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
4 seasons. It's on Tubi TV.
Okay.
And but everybody's got the best Australian accents, of course, but their Lego builds are incredible. Like they all got famous rock songs that they had to create out of Lego, like Smoke on the Water.
Mm-hmm.
Highway to the Danger Zone. And then they had a musical guest who had to come in and judge. They had one where they actually built Lego creation dragons on top of a drone and had to fly it through an obstacle course. So,
because I mean, that's something that you usually have to figure out how to do on a day-to-day basis.
Right. Right.
So between
I've done that tons of times.
Better Call Saul's wrapping up, and this is helping fill the gaps a little bit. So
that's right. Better Call Saul is
I'm in the middle of season 3 of Stranger Things.
How's it going?
Wow. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's going like great.
Yeah. I'm not going to have a ton of enthusiasm today. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right.
I am really tired and I want to be sleeping right now. I love chatting movies with you. But my eyes, I am not high. I'm not drunk. My eyes just don't want to be open right now.
So real quick, that makes me think, because you had your tattoo convention yesterday.
Yeah, it was a festival with a tattoo competition. Thank you, Tracy. You came out and volunteered, and for a while he thought, Val's a real good friend to put me in this room that's air conditioned to volunteer all day. And then I was like, it's time to tear down this street. We got 30 minutes. And I could tell he was out there and his mind changed real quick.
But there was a funny thing, because Dave, Val's husband, Dave, was in that air conditioned room tattooing. And somebody started talking about mushrooms, and Dave looked at her and he goes, listen, the only mushrooms I have are on steak. So you're talking to the wrong guy.
Speaking of Dave,
mm-hmm.
We just, a week or so ago, we had our screening of Sharknado. So we want to thank everybody who came out. First of all, it was great to see some folks. Wow. And I think we had a lot of fun. It is up there as one of the worst movies I have ever seen. There is very little redeeming quality to Sharknado.
Yep.
But what was fun was watching a movie like that with a group of people that we were making fun of it. And in particular, Dave had
some
great string of comments as we watched the film.
When Tara Reid's the most sensible person in this film, this is terrible.
Yeah. There were moments in the movie where I'm just like, this is okay. Like, no, you're getting into a movie called Sharknado, so it's going to have a tornado full of sharks and multiple tornadoes. Fine. But there were still moments where I was like, I have not suspended my disbelief enough for this movie because
and they only get crazier.
Not that I want to spoil it for anyone, but I also don't care if I spoil it for people. But like,
I mean, how can you spoil something like this?
Yeah.
Well, so at the very end, where he gets eaten by the shark, and then chainsaws his way out from the inside, out of the shark, and it just so happens to be the same shark out of all these thousands of sharks that are flying around in these tornadoes, the same shark that ate the girl like 10 minutes earlier in the film.
So did he rescue her out of
Yes,
the...
so he comes out of the shark births him, first of all, like it was having a baby person, because he cut his way out of the shark. Then he reaches back in and pulls her out of the shark, and she was still alive and everything was fine.
Was she missing any limbs or scratches?
No, not even a new scar to match the one that she already had on her leg from the last time she encountered sharks.
But
that was the moment where I was like, I just have not suspended the disbelief enough for this film.
Well, good thing that happened at the end. If that would have happened like the first 10 minutes, then you would have just...
Well, I remember Dave saying, like, I really miss you so much. I'm going tonight to hang out with them because I miss you so much. And then he's like, I miss you a lot, but not as bad as this movie was horrible or something.
I hope he had fun, and the fun made up for the fact that we had to watch the movie, because it was horrible. But it was fun to watch, Tracy, and I get the appeal of saying, hey, getting a group of friends together to watch something like this. I do think Dave may have found our next one that we need to watch together for bad movies for a good cause, and that would be Kung Fury.
Yes.
Which he keeps posted, or he posted about on Facebook. Which is another really just awful movie in the best possible way.
Right.
That's a short movie too, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it's very long. So
we raised over $600 for American Cancer Society.
Oh yeah, the important stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that was a really fun event. We need to do that again.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it was that way because people came, and we just appreciate that so much. So Tracy, you've raised over 3,000 now.
Just over 3,000. Yep.
Just with your efforts, and your goal, if I understand this correctly, between now and January is to hit $5,000 that you'd like to raise. I want to
hit 5 if I can. Yeah. So I'm funded enough to run the Dopey race. Like whatever you don't raise, you have to pay, but that's okay. I donate to them anyway. So I'm funded. So now everything is gravy. So it's just like, hey, we got time. Let's keep going.
Yeah. Well, the point was never to run the race, right? Like that's nice to be able to do that, but we're really trying to fight cancer and find a cure. So the more we can raise. So right now, and I'm going to plug this on the show if you don't mind, you're selling bath bombs.
Yes. We've got bath bombs. They are lavender and spearmint. They're cupcakes, and they're hand decorated with a pink breast cancer ribbon. These are like the best bath bombs ever. Like they saved me when I did the Dopey last year. So incredible bath bombs. They smell great. They look really cute. 40% of all donations go to that. And then over the next 2 weeks, we have art from Thomas Estrada. He did a Yzma drawing with graphite pencil, and he is letting us raffle that off. So $15 donation gets you entered.
So with this episode, or shortly before this episode, on our Facebook page, we will post the link where you can go and donate, as well as the link where you can go and purchase these bath bombs. I think over the next couple of weeks, if you donate, that puts you in the raffle to win the artwork. Is that correct, Tracy?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. $15 or more gets you in the raffle drawing, and we'll draw that on Sunday, the 14th of August.
Yeah. And Thomas Estrada, when we say that, if you guys don't know this, he is like a Disney artist. And an animation art, like he did. I know this isn't Disney. And I say that only because it always irks me when someone picks a movie and talks about it like it is a Disney animated movie, because it's just a good animated movie. But The Road to El Dorado, I believe, is one that he worked on.
Yep.
And he's worked on some others.
So Emperor's New Groove and Treasure Planet, I believe.
Two of my favorite from the
We did an
2000s Disney
episode with
movies.
him on Multiplane Podcast, so.
Yeah.
Nice.
So great guy. I think it's awesome that he's donating some original artwork. So you guys definitely want to get in on that raffle. We will put links up so that you will be able to do that. And the bath bombs are a nice touch. Nothing is better. I'm just throwing this out there. Nothing is better than drawing yourself a nice bath with a bath bomb and then turning on your favorite movie podcast, Movies That Make Us, and just listening and relaxing with us in the bath.
I like that.
So,
and I feel like we need to have a Kung Fury Christmas.
A Kung Fury Christmas?
I like that.
If you guys have not seen anything about Kung Fury, so this was not a movie that was on TV. It was not released in theaters. I think it was just done on YouTube. But there was a music video. It blew up so much. There was a music video with David Hasselhoff doing the music.
And that's what sold me.
Yeah. And if you have not seen this music video, we will post it. We will post it on our Facebook page. We'll tweet it out so you can see this music video. It was from a few years ago. It's incredible. Just incredible. So I like that. Kung Fury Christmas. We'll figure out what that's going to look like. Val, you're the big events person, so you just point us in the direction and tell us what to do, and we'll make it happen.
I was going to rinse, wash, repeat what we just did with Sharknado.
We can do that.
Perfect.
Do I have to create the can we just do that?
Absolutely.
Like I said, you just point us in the direction to go, Val. We'll do it. So
Sweet.
Awesome.
I will do that.
All right. Speaking of pointing people in the right direction and telling them where to go, this week we are talking about the movie The Intern.
Very nicely done, sir.
That was a good segue. Okay, Val, you suggested this movie. I looked at the movie poster and I thought, oh, this is cute. It'll be Robert De Niro, and then Anne Hathaway is going to come in and be his intern, and they're going to bond, and they're going to have this fun relationship because Val told us it was a feel-good movie.
Right.
And I was wrong. That was the premise, just the roles were reversed. Robert De Niro is playing intern Benjamin Whitaker. Is this something that companies do? Do they hire seniors to come in and be interns?
I have heard of this. Yeah.
Really?
I feel like companies do a lot of things and have over the last 10 years done a lot of different things to kind of mix things up. Right. And this movie came out when there was a lot of like younger companies happening, like Silicon Valley and like all of these startups happening. And so I think it kind of took this concept. And, there's another movie where you have the older interns.
With
Vince Vaughn, and they go to Google and
Owen Wilson was in that one.
Yeah. And that one wasn't horrible, but this one is so charming. I happened upon this movie a while ago, and every year I probably watch it a couple of times. It's almost up there with The Chef, with Chef. I'm going to take the out with Chef. This is The Intern. Sorry.
If we can put the in where it doesn't belong and take it out where it does every time, I would really. But I think Chef is actually right.
It is Chef.
Yeah, it is Chef.
It is Chef, and it is The Intern. But I probably watch Chef a little bit more, but both of these movies make me feel the same way. And I love it because it's very much, reminds me, I think it kind of came out when I was realizing what my dad was going through after he lost my mom. Mm-hmm. You have these people that are just movers every day. They got to go, and they try to retire and their life has changed. But my dad is that kind of person where he's tried to retire 6 times. He finally is retired now. But like, he was a guy who wore a suit to work every day. He was, the kind of guy who had a routine and did this and that and this with this big house and nobody in it until we moved back in, So it just kind of hit me like there. But then looking at it with, also this woman setting up this business and just taking this big risk, and going for it is so cool. And then the fact that we think we can only be friends with a certain kind of person, but it really just takes someone that cares, it just, I don't know. It's just a really cool concept that worked for me.
Yeah, I agree. As it started and I kind of picked up on what it was going to be, I was like, this is different. This is something interesting. And I think there can be a really interesting story here. But then as he's going through his little video interview that he's making, and he's talking about, his wife passing away, and he was just bored. He tried to retire, but there was nothing going on and everything. And by the end of his little video interview, I'm like, if anything happens to this man in this movie, I will not be able to recover emotionally, because I was all in on Ben Whitaker from the very beginning, and he was such a charming guy and such a charming character, and not even to like, I didn't feel like it was even over the top. I just felt like he was just a genuinely nice guy, which is not what I typically think of when I think of Robert De Niro and the characters that he plays in movies, because he doesn't always play like the overly
usually
nice
not
guy. But he did a really good job in this. And it's also interesting. I recently read the book that's been around forever, the how to win friends and influence people. Right.
Yeah.
As I'm watching it, I'm like, this is like the movie How to Win Friends and Influence People, because a lot of what he does is he's talking to people you find in that kind of book. And it's just a way of like, you don't argue with people. You just kind of, you agree with them, and you do the win-wins. And he does a lot of that through the movie. And it's just really interesting to see how he wins over this group. I love it when they're walking in and Davis is there, and he's like, yeah, they only had one spot open for a regular age intern. No offense. Oh, no.
It's just like this, like,
but I just like that, like a regular age intern.
I loved it when they were interviewing him, because they're like, so we're just gonna snap through these questions. You have 5 interviews today, and they're like, this is new. Some of these questions may not work for you. All right, so here's the big one. Where do you see yourself in 10 years or something? Like he's like, when I'm 80.
Like, oh yeah, I didn't realize you were 70. So
okay.
Like, well, no. Those interview questions, as someone who has to hire people, and so we have to be aware of like the laws and the rules around questions that you can and can't answer. A lot of what they were asking in the interviews, I'm like, you can't ask that unless you want to get sued. And then I'm like, but this is a movie, Jake. Oh yeah, that's right. So it's fine. They probably won't get sued for bad interview questions.
When I interviewed at KUTV, there was a very nice guy who was the senior sales manager, and interviewed with him, and he was like, so how old are you? My future boss was like, you can't ask him that. And he's like, just between us. He's like, do you have any problem looking for a woman? I'm like, no, I don't.
In a previous role, we had to hire people with specific language skills. And so we could ask, do you speak and are you fluent in whatever language we were looking for? Spanish and Portuguese were the 2 most common that we were always looking for. And I had one manager that I would interview with occasionally. He's like, so how do you speak this language? Are you from what? No, you can't ask that. You could ask if they speak the language and are they fluent in the language, but you can't ask, are you from a Spanish speaking country? Oh, why not? Because then if we don't hire them, is it because they're from another country? Like you just can't do that.
That's a problem.
But it's okay. Yeah.
Well, and I loved it, like all the guys, that he's, and it's mainly like guys that he kind of befriends.
Right.
But, there's a couple group of younger guys, and they're like, oh, you have a briefcase? And, oh, are you going to wear a suit every day? And, and then this really nervous kind of twitchy guy comes in, and he's like, I think I'm going to Jay-Z's house. And he's like, so you think you want to rethink that wardrobe? So he's like, go get a boyfriend shirt, because they work at a clothing company. And he's like, I can't believe I'm going to go meet, Jay-Z, and I might meet Beyonce, and I'm wearing a woman's blouse. And he says, trust me, it's an improvement.
And I love it. Everybody else is just like, yeah. Totally I love it because he sticks out like a sore thumb when he comes in there, because he's wearing the coat and the tie and has the briefcase, like you guys said. But then at the end, you see Davis coming out of his house at the one point, and he's got a coat and a tie on. And then you see the same nervous guy. He's carrying the same briefcase that he went out on eBay and found, because they don't make it anymore. And like the influence that he had on people as he was just going about just doing his thing. He didn't try to force it on anybody, and people just wanted to emulate who he was. And I thought that was interesting.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with, ageism. We think people like older people, and now, I mean, Tracy and I were entering into that realm of, do people want to not hire us, or think that we have an opinion because maybe we don't understand because we're too old or whatever. And he didn't understand how to like even figure out how to send him this video email, right?
Right.
But then once he gets into the office, just having his influence there helped other people understand their jobs better, right? Yeah, there might be a difference of technology knowledge or whatever, but hard work, regardless of what job you're at, being a hard committed worker who is willing to learn, doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter if you're 12 or 77, right? And so I really liked that aspect of the movie, is that, you know, it really doesn't matter, except for the crazy old lady that they hired, and she wasn't old. Like, I feel like she's only like 10 years older than me, but she's crazy.
Yeah.
That lady was crazy.
When Jules texts, hey, we need to move Ben to marketing or something, he's too observant. So the next day it's that lady, and she's like, wait, where's Ben? Oh yeah, they sent me down instead. She pulls right out into traffic, and they're screaming, and everybody's like, it's just pure panic. Yeah, she was not good. Also, Ben did well with the ladies. Fiona liked him quite a bit, and I've never worked someplace that has a house masseuse, but I would imagine in the working world that massage may have crossed some
HR may have been called on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. The other lady that like was so aggressive with him and like made him kiss her.
Yeah.
Like, he's like trying to pull away.
Well, and I just felt bad for her. I was like, lady, take a hint. It's been 5 months since you had the last dinner. He's not interested. And you know, it's not because he's got anything else going on. It's you. Like, it's not him. It's you. 100%.
You've gone to 7 funerals and he's never sat by you one time.
Yeah.
Just a hint.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was recently on the show Be Positive.
Oh, was she?
Yeah. She was one of the elderly care patients. So I was watching this week. I was like, hey,
hey, I know her. I love the Ocean 11's-esque heist that they do in the middle of this movie.
Who's Brad Pitt?
Well, and you're Ben Affleck's brother. Why am I not Brad Pitt? I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
And then he's like, Ben Affleck's brother, stay here and watch the car.
And then they're trying to get back in the car and he's having this moment, and I'm like, I've been there before. Like, I've been there.
You're just in your jam, you know? He's just enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
I just love that part because we've all sent out a message or an email to someone at some point, usually a family member, that we have wanted to take back. And the fact that they went and broke into her mother's home, she's like, there's a key under the plant. There's like 1,000,000 plants on the porch.
There's no burglar alarm. Yes, there is.
I know my mother. She's cheap. There's no way it's a real alarm. So they just ignore it until it starts going.
Oh, they start hearing the sirens.
Yeah, that was... Damon, you do this. Ben Affleck's brother, you stay and watch the car. Oh.
His name's Casey Affleck.
Well, I know what his name is, but
I know. I'm just saying, like, for those of you who don't know, he's been in like 4 movies, and he was good in 3 of them.
Yeah, which is a better percentage than a lot of Hollywood actors. Just saying. 75% isn't bad. So.
You know, and it's interesting too, because this came out when Adam Devine was like really kind of Hollywood's it kid for a little bit, and he burned out fast. Like, he was in everything for a while, and then poof, seems to have kind of disappeared. I've never been a big fan of his, but he was okay in this.
I can't remember who Adam Devine is. Is he the guy that was in charge of the interns? The one rocking out in the car?
Yes.
Yeah. And he was like in Modern Family as the Manny and things like that.
Yeah, he was in
the singing
Pitch
movie.
Perfect 2, Neighbors.
Yeah.
Pitch Perfect. Yeah.
I think everything that I see him in, I feel like he's playing almost the same character.
100%. Yeah.
And I think that's the hard thing. Actors who have really a lot of staying power most of the time, it's because they can play a little bit of range. Unless they're like, unless they're so iconic in the roles. I mean, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, for example, doesn't have a ton of range, but he's so iconic in the roles that he's in that you can't ignore him.
Just go with it.
Yeah. Harrison Ford, who I love, also doesn't necessarily have a ton of range. We're not talking like Tom Hanks range.
Right.
But
Tom Cruise,
but again, he's good at what he does. Kevin Costner doesn't have a lot of range. So we have given a lot of really prime examples of the opposite of what I said. So ignore what I said because it's obviously not true. Apparently it's just when your character is like Adam Devine's character, you just don't care. And he
I think he doesn't have that it factor that somebody like Costner or Schwarzenegger has.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a leading,
or my friend
Tom.
Man.
Yeah.
But there was also the other aspect that I think women deal with a little bit more, and that is the mean women. Yes. And I think it comes from both sides. I've seen it from both sides. I've seen moms that look down on women that have a career and think that they aren't spending enough time with their kids. And I've seen, women who have careers with kids who look down on the moms that stay home. Like I've seen it from both sides. And I feel like men aren't like that with each other. I mean, not all men. I mean, I'm sure some men are like, why would a guy quit a really good job and stay home and be a house, a stay-at-home dad, whatever. Yeah. It might be that way some places, but I think women, we're just really hard on each other. And I really liked when he, went and took her daughter and he's like, yeah, and what, she's broken glass ceilings and, da, 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 da. But that was just like that little thing like, oh, and can you bring the guacamole? Yeah, I can. Well, and you can buy it store-bought since we know you don't have time to make it. Jab, jab. No, I can make it. And it got to the point where her daughter even thought, do you even know how to make it? Because she keeps hearing, all of this stuff. And she's like, yes, I know how to make guacamole.
It's surprisingly not hard. But I agree, like and I'm not, but being a woman sucks because it doesn't matter what you do with your life. You are going to be judged by women who have made other decisions. Men, does it happen? I think it happens, but I think you're right, Val. It's not as much. I think for men, it's like, oh, you're a stay-at-home dad. That's weird. Oh, you play Call of Duty like I do. Sweet. Let's get together sometime.
Yeah, it's like,
and that's it. They find something to bond over. And it's totally fine. But I agree. I think you're right. And you probably have obviously better insight into that than I do. But I know I've seen it with my wife where, you get judged for having too many kids or for staying home or for whatever. And I've seen it with my sister who goes to work and she gets judged for going to work. And, if you don't have kids, then there's all the especially in our culture and in our area, there's a lot of, why don't you have kids? What's,
right. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. I didn't want to say that because that's for a lot of women. That's just,
I've heard it.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. And it's,
you only have
like,
one.
Why do we gotta judge each other? Yeah.
When they're like, how come you don't have any kids? It's like, do you want to know?
Like, are we going to sit down and have this conversation?
Are you genuinely concerned,
really want to
or
know,
are you just being nosy? Yeah.
Well, there were these sharks
in a tornado. You could call it a sharknado.
A shark tornado, and we just decided.
Now, I told Jake in Sharknado 4, they hit an oil rig and it becomes an oil-nado, and then it catches fire and it becomes a fire-nado, and then it eventually hits a nuclear power plant and becomes a nuke-nado.
Okay. The science in these movies is non-existent. I'm just throwing it out there. The fact that they beat the tornadoes by blowing them up with a bomb.
Right.
I don't think that works.
Yeah, you throw dynamite into
hear about these movies, I think to myself, why did I give up on filmmaking? It's so hard to get good movies made. And then you see it,
Really
Sharknado
making a killing on
77 get
sci-fi.
made, and you're thinking, but there is hope that maybe one day I could have
Yep.
somebody pay for a movie.
I think there is an art form to being able to say, we're going to make a really, really bad movie on purpose.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what happened with Sharknado. I don't think they thought of it as, I think.
I have read interviews with the director and even the writer, and the writer, I can't remember his name, but it's awesome.
His name is Awesome?
No, but sorry, threw me off. Anyway, they purposely knew, and when I actually met with Ian Ziering at Fan X, and he was like, we know that these movies are terrible, but we're laughing and having fun and we're getting paid, so it's all good.
And that's all that matters. Now,
but I like in this one too that De Niro actually like plays a little bit of fun with himself. I'm hearing an
echo.
Yeah. You hearing that?
I'm not hearing it.
Okay. I'm not hearing it. So I think we're good.
You muted yourself, Jake.
Well, I was just wondering if that's where the echo was coming from. And
no, I think it's gone away now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the anomaly.
But I like the fact that De Niro had fun with his stereotypical De Niro self. Like there's a couple times where he does the De Niro, the very, I can't do it, but everybody knows the De Niro face. You know, he gives you that.
Yeah.
look.
Oh yeah.
And he just has a little bit of fun with that, which I thought was great. I thought that was fun.
Yeah. This is probably one of the most enjoyable roles that he's been in that I've seen, in recent years that he's done, that I've enjoyed quite a bit. And it is I think, a very different role for him.
And it's interesting because I've heard that in real life, he's a really, really nice guy, really nice, very down to earth. But they say that he has a presence about him that's just intimidating.
Yeah.
Like even when you're friends with him, you still feel that intimidation with him.
I think that's probably true. Like there's just something about Robert De Niro just being, it would. But this movie was really good. And I kept thinking, if this sticks the landing, this will be one of my favorite movies I've seen in a long time. And it got close.
Mm-hmm.
I struggled a little bit with the ending. I'll be honest.
Yep.
In the movie, her husband, he has the affair. And I think what bothered me, not that they decided to try to work it out. Like, I think in those kind of situations, when you've got to make those decisions, that's really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I would never tell anybody what the right or wrong thing to do in their situation is. So they want to work it out. That's fine. What I didn't like is when he comes back and apologizes and he's like, but you can't throw this away from me. I'm not going to let you. No, sir. You have been having an affair. You don't get to come back and have a noble, I'm sacrificing myself for you moment. I'm sorry, but like that really rubbed me the wrong way that he got to come back and be like, I'm not going to let you do this for me. You need to know this so that you can do it for you and do the right thing for you. It
weakens her character.
Yeah, because she was already going to do that. Mm-hmm. Like she was already making that decision. But then it comes in and then it looks like, okay, I came in and saved the day and prevented her from making a really big mistake by apologizing and letting her know about the
stupid a little bit of a different way, I guess.
Okay.
Because they did show us that she was already going to make the decision.
Yeah.
And so having him come in for me, I feel like he did that because he felt guilty that when he said on the stairs, when you say us, do you mean us, the company, or do you mean us? And she said us. And you could tell that because he didn't know yet that she knew he was having the affair. And so he felt that guilt in there. And he's like, I can't let her do this without knowing. So it was kind of him, one, feeling guilty and going and saying, wait, like if you think that you're going to save our relationship by doing this, that this may not be what saves it. So it was kind of like him trying to tell her, but also trying to get his own guilt. And she saw through it because like he showed up because he feels guilty now because you said those things. And then, when they have that drink, on the stairs and everything, and she's like, okay, but this needs to later. She's like, this needs to stop, you know, like this. Are you almost done with this?
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, oh crap. Like, you know, she knows and everything. So for me, it showed me that his character was a little bit flawed and like, cause he's just, okay, now he's trying to go in there and say, you know, don't do it. But really, you just entered that room because you felt guilty. You couldn't sit at home knowing what you know, thinking she doesn't know. She knows. We always know, right? Like that there is something wrong. We may not know what it is,
right?
But we know there's something wrong. And she's a smart lady. She saw right through it. She had already made her decision. But I do think it was good that they showed, because she didn't want to not be with him. And I do like that, because usually we see a movie, you see when one of the people in the couple gets successful, then something happens, somebody cheats, then they split up, then there's this big, like, I feel so much better now that I'm not with this person, my family's split up. And I do like, because I think there are moments when you make a mistake as a person in your relationship, and if you still love each other, and like Jake said, if you make that decision to stay, that's also something people judge on.
Oh, for sure.
Right. Oh, for sure.
And the fact that they both love each other, he made a mistake, she made a mistake, and kind of forgetting about her family for a little bit, but you know, she was driven, and they both figured it out for themselves. Now we don't know if it worked out later, but you know, just to not walk away from a relationship, for me to watch that and like try and fight, I liked that. I liked that element, but we still all felt like he was a douche.
Oh yeah, for sure. 100%.
And I love when De Niro entered the house. He's like, feeling better, you know?
I like when he was not feeling well after he found out, and she was like, "Oh, I hope you're not catching what Matt has. I don't have what he has." No. And my first indication that something was wrong was when she went over and started kissing on him, and he's like, "Jules, I can barely keep my eyes open." Nope, sorry. My eyes are wide open at that point. I'm ready. Like,
yep.
You know, anyway. But I think the other part of the ending that I didn't like was when she came out to talk to Ben, and, you know, I'm going to call Townsend basically, and I'm going to tell him no and whatever. And he wasn't at his desk. And they're like, "Oh yeah, he decided to take the day off." And then he's out doing yoga. I think there was an element of the story that was cut, probably for time or content, that we missed, like the health part, because there was parts where his high blood pressure was getting worse and he was having to take more pills and things like that. But they didn't really elaborate on that. And that's probably why he was out doing the yoga, but they don't give us that. And it was so out of character.
Why he was out there.
Tai Chi.
Why was he out there? To prove to her that there is a way to balance time for yourself,
the whole movie,
and time for success, because she does not stop.
And Tai Chi is all about establishing that balance.
The only way she was going to get there is if he was there. So he's like, "Hey, there's been all this time, but I realized," and he also realized, "Okay, I used to do this every day. It was boring. Now I've been doing this every day. So I'm going to go and make this a balance thing."
Yeah,
and everyone in the office, nobody in the office had a balance. So that's how I felt
like it came out of the blue. It was just out of the blue. Like, "Oh, I'm not there." Like, he's just gone. And then he's out in the park doing Tai Chi, which I get it. The balance part, all of that is important, but like I just didn't feel like it was developed enough. It was just weird at the end of the movie, but that's okay.
I felt like it was full
I've
circle.
been wrong before.
It's interesting because I was with Jake about the affair part, and I'm with Val on the Tai Chi part. So
yeah, I feel like because they showed us the Tai Chi part at the beginning of the show, and he was like, "My life, I'm just doing the same thing every day. I'm bored, blah, blah, blah." He gets right back into work. He's been busy. And then none of the people at this office take time. Like the freaking assistant, you know, she's afraid to ask for help, which I feel that, like, as a woman, you're afraid, or just anyone that's young and you know, you're afraid to ask for help, because if you show that you need help, does it show that you're weak? And then are you going to get fired? And he had to like prove to her, well, you know, people that don't sleep, age, blah, 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 gain weight. And she's like, "Great, I'm going to be
overweight and old."
And then when, she doesn't even make time to talk to her mom, which I wouldn't either if like my mom was like
Her
that.
mom was
But
awful.
um
Her mom was not a good person.
but she ran
She
to the
might have been a
park
good person,
to
but
tell him what awesome moment she was having. He's like, tell me after. Like, make the time to slow down because it's still going to be exciting in 10 minutes. You know what I mean? So for me, I was fine with that. I mean, I wasn't like, oh, that's a great scene in the movie, but I was like, okay, it's like full circle. He's showing her. But if we really, and I'm going to like push some buttons with some people here because I love this movie. I suggested this movie because it makes me feel good. But then on the other side of this, if you really want me to be technical and why some people may not like this movie is that she is a young female who started this company and who needed the help of an old white man to realize her success.
Yeah. And I think that's a glaring issue with the film as well, because we talk about Matt coming in and getting his noble moment, but the reality is she was ready to go forward with hiring the CEO until it was Ben who said, yeah, this just doesn't make sense and doesn't add up. And I hate to be the feminist here, but you've got to do this and whatever. Like, it's one of those where it's like, okay, we are making an effort to make a feminist movie and have a strong female lead,
but we're not quite ready to go full.
But she's a strong female lead because she's got Robert De Niro in her corner. Right. And honestly, you have Robert De Niro in your corner and you can do anything because he will just, pave the way for you. So I agree, Val. I think that's a huge glaring issue with the film. Even though I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, for me, it's not enough to make me not watch it again.
Yeah. Like, I think they could have done it differently, but it was still enjoyable. And I think as we make progress on anything, it's always, steps in the right direction. I think there were some good steps in the right direction here, but I enjoyed it. So, Tracy, what do you give this movie for a grade?
This is one I had not seen before. I had seen the trailer, I had seen the poster. It had always kind of been on kind of my fringe radar, but it was just one I hadn't gotten around to. So I was glad that Val suggested it. I'm not usually a huge Nancy Meyers film, but this is one of her better ones. Yeah, it's enjoyable to me. It's not life-changing. I'm going to go with a solid B on this one.
Yeah. I liked it. I would probably go B+. I'm not just a B. I think it's one that, if it came up, I'd watch it again and I would enjoy it, I think. So yeah, B+ for me. Val?
Yeah, for me, it's a little bit of a floater because if it's just a movie that I turn my brain off and I just need a movie that's going to make me feel good. I don't have to think too much about. It's a B+. When I sit and I turn my other brain on and I have to say, okay, like, why wouldn't other critics like it? Because I understand why they hired De Niro for the part. I understand why you have to do that for money and for likability and whatever. And so they kind of throw the whole story of making this woman, up here out the window. I understand why they had to do that. Doesn't make it right, but I understand it.
Yeah.
I would probably give it a B. So I mean, it's that B+, because I do watch it at least once a year. When you say, hey, feel good movie, it will be, in the top 20 where I'd say, hey, have you seen this one? Have you seen this one? And this one would be one that comes up. But yeah, I just thought it was enjoyable. It was
it's a fun little film.
I agree. Yeah. It's one that you watch it and it's hard.
Charming.
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting. I wonder, like, because De Niro has taken on more like comedic roles later in his career. So I wonder if like the younger generation is going to think of him as like this fun grandpa guy from, Meet the Fockers and a few other things. Like,
I sure hope not, because that is so not what his career has been. And I'll be honest, when you talk about that, Tracy, because I thought about Meet the Parents and Meet the Fockers, I liked him a lot more in this film than I did in either of those. But I am not a huge Meet the Parents fan.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's just not one that it's like, I want a funny movie. Oh, let's put this one on. It's
that never comes up.
Yeah. And to be honest, and this is nothing against Mr. Stiller, but most Ben Stiller movies aren't ones that I'm going to be like, oh, that's one that I definitely need to put on and watch.
Yeah.
So
he's turned out to be an interesting director. He did the Apple TV series Severance, which is really interesting, really good.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about these comedic actors that turn into like really interesting directors.
Yeah. Jordan Peele saw Nope.
Yeah.
Nope was good. I liked it.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it. The Intern. If you're looking for a feel-good movie this week that you want to put on, I would definitely recommend The Intern. It's a lot of fun. We enjoyed it. Next week, we're going to be talking about another fun movie with Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And then I think maybe we'll do a fun, different movie that's a new one that's out that Tracy's been telling Val and I that we need to go see. And so we'll talk about that. But in the meantime, thank you. Oh, go ahead, Tracy.
Nope. We'll tease it for the next episode.
All right. Until then, though, we appreciate that you came out and watched Sharknado with us. Stay tuned for more fun events like that. I think we had a lot of fun putting it on, and so we want to do more of those. And until then, we won't see you at the movies.
Bye.
This has been a Stolen Droids Media production.